tell me how badass this is. So like each family, like the Rogan family, like you're the patriarch, right? Okay. You'd have your clacknart up on the mantle or whatever it is. So at your family outings, whatever outings those may be, all the men, very much like in Braveheart, they would go and throw it. The guy who throws the clacknart, the family stone the furthest, is kind of like the dude. Like he's like, all right, now my son has surpassed me. He's shown he's a man now.
Right.
Here's the wildest part. This gives me chills. So they would, if they went off to battle, they would take their clacknart, their stone, and on the way out of town, they would all put it in a pile, and this is called a cairn or a cairn. So they would put it in a pile. So if they did not return to battle, they had placed their own monument to their town of their sacrifice.
Whoa.
So could you imagine? So when you go past these old towns and there's a pile, you're like, a lot of guys didn't come home.
And those piles are still there?
When I was in Scotland, they did say a lot of them are still there. I was competing when I did Highland Games, Scottish Highland Games. And it's wild. So like you think about it, you're like, man, you're literally kind of placing your family's stone of like, I'm going off. And if I don't show up, like,
dude, I was in Scotland last year, and there was...
What part of Scotland were you in?
God, I wish I could remember. I'm not exact.
Up in the Highlands, like all the rural stuff?
Or another.
Aberdeen?
I went with some friends, and they took us to this place that my friend owns property out there.
Naturally.
And when we went there, there was a stone circle that is way older than Stonehenge.
No way.
Yeah, and it's just sitting there.
So, a lot of stuff in Scotland's just sitting there.
It's just sitting there in front of this dude's house, and you can go and stand on it. I was like, this is crazy. And it's got like a little monument on it, but no one's stopping you from like walking around on it. And they're not big stones. They're like small stones. But this stone, they're like, I'm like, who made this? I was asking the guy that we were with. He's pretty knowledgeable. And he's like, no one knows. Wow. It's just left laying around.
Yeah, so like Scotland, there you go.
No, that's not it. But it's kind of like that. It wasn't nearly as high. They were smaller standing stones. And it was, and there's a bunch of them like laying around. Like there's a guide stone on the ground. I'm like, how old is that?
Wow.
Like that's probably like thousands of years old.
Wow.
But nobody knows. Like they don't know who made the stone, who put it there. It's just a guide stone.